What's happening, fam? What's happening? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. A link will be in the description box below. This video is entitled The Byproducts of Feminism. I got a comment. Young lady said, in some ways she doesn't feel protected or respected, or maybe in some ways appreciated. I'm adding these things, it's kind of putting words in her mouth, but she's like, brothers aren't doing the things that they could do, should do, and used to do, in a sense. So I told her, I said, a lot of times what's happening right now is these are byproducts of feminism. And I was like, I'll make a video to explain it. So, and as a black man, you hear black women talk about not being protected and provided for. And we've talked about this so many times. So I'm going to try to break them down individually for a second. For the black women who don't feel like black men provide for you, that's a byproduct of feminism. And see, the thing about it is you don't get to cut your independence on and off when you feel like it. That's the part of equality. That's the part of if you're a strong, independent woman who don't need no man for nothing. Unfortunately, your foremothers were saying this and raising their kids to believe this, and you became an adult, and you have to deal with the consequences of this. See, the people who created this atmosphere in some instance, for the most part, were not your generation or in your dating pool at the time. But they created the atmosphere. And not only did they create the atmosphere, they raised the kids to think to think that atmosphere was the norm. So now, I made jokes on video a long time ago. I got like a little niece, and she was in like 5th, 6th grade, talking about, I'm a strong, independent black woman. I don't need a man for nothing. Mind you, she was like 5th, 6th grade, and like her daddy was in a room with her. So, it creates a problem. So the byproduct of that is the men look at you like you don't need any help. You want men to open the doors for you and treat you like a lady. Well, the problem with that is during that process, you teach people how to treat you. So you skip over all the men who had open doors, and women's like, don't you open the door for me. I can do it on my own. So gradually, the energy of that got around, and guys were like, you know what? Hands off policy. Hands off policy. They don't want our help. They don't want our protection, blah, blah, blah. Remember that movie where two could play that game? With Anthony Anderson, Vivica Fox, and Morris Chestnut, when she said, I'll pay for, I'll pay for my dinner. Well, what guys call those shit tests, guys were going through that back then. Okay, so you pay for it. Oh, okay, well, after a while, all of those games about what you will do and to show your independence, you have to live in that. Now, some of you younger women don't want to live in that because your foremothers were half in and half out. They were only doing it at their convenience. It wasn't their norm. They could hop in and hop out. I know plenty of women who said that, they were strong and independent and didn't need a man for nothing. But the men in their family were just fine. They were just fine taking things from them. They were just fine taking things from their girlfriends, boyfriends, or getting help from them. Or they were just fine with the men that they were dating, doing things for them. So then it was all the other men in society. So forgetting that, your family, your friends, boyfriends and husbands, and the guys that you date are in the same circles, in and outside. They are other people's brothers and fathers and uncles and cousins and friend of a friend type of thing that's been used. So the same guys that you're willing to use are the same guys that other women used in that negative way. So it's a byproduct of the feminism. You don't feel protected. It's another byproduct of the feminism because you see it, you kept saying you don't need a man. A man can't do anything for me. So you can't protect a person that doesn't want to be around you. You know what I mean? Like, I use that reference of Sarah Bartman. Is it Venus Hottentot, right? She was in a village in Africa, and she purposely she got the attention of the people who came to the village and left her village. She left her protection and wound up getting horribly mistreated, and basically became a sex slave. And I want to say the creation of Barnum and Bailey Circus, or the creation of that first main attraction. And that was the problem. Of course, the men in her village couldn't protect her because she ran away from the men in her village to be out there in an unprotected fashion. So it's a byproduct of that. Like, now women want protection, but like I said, you can't cut it on and off when you want. You can't just, I want protection right now. I don't want it no more. Leave us. Like Zoe Williams says that, leave us. So part of the byproduct of that is, if you keep telling somebody to come and go as you please, there are no guarantees that they're ever coming back. There's no guarantee of that. No guarantee whatsoever. So to think that, these guys they're gonna protect you when you say so. They're gonna provide when you say so. They're gonna stop when you say so. That's a byproduct of this issue. Women don't, women feel like the men don't validate you or put you on a pedestal. That's a byproduct of the feminism. You wanted to create your own story, your own narrative, your own pedestal. So you can't have both. Like, if you said that's what you wanted, or your foremother said that's what you wanted, and now you're living in it. It's like, in some instances, you can be looked at as a person who realized the task at hand, and you were given a task that you really don't want, and you really didn't, and you wouldn't have pushed for, but now you're living in the ramifications of it. And as men, we understand that. We understand that all too well because we live with it all. That is part of our existence. But you have to finish the game. Like, right now, you're frustrated because you're in a blowout right now and you're losing. But your team's actions put you in the midst of this blowout. So you want to be validated by the men, but the men are not going to validate you because you want the men to validate you the way you want the men to validate you. You want the men to provide for you the way you want the men to provide for you. You want the men to protect you the way you want the men to protect you. And that's not how it works. That was never how it worked. It was called having a synergy. So if you want to break the synergy, you got to create your own. That is for you to do. You know what I mean? So that's the problem. So what happens now is, when you want our validation, it's null and void, because since it's been presented to us men that you wanted to write your own narrative and create your own rules, you can't ask for our validation, protection, or provision until you actually set your own foundation and standard for how you want to be treated in that way. It's not for us to do. That has become your responsibility. So if you want protection, you have to set up a structure to show the kind of protection that you want. If you want provision, you have to create the structure to show the type of provision that you want, since you wanted this empowerment and independence. If you want validation, you have to set up the structure to show the type of validation that you want. And unfortunately, I think because you were given a task that you probably didn't want, and now that you just is forcing you to deal with, instead of addressing the women who actually push for this, you address the men. And men are really in some ways ignoring you because it's not our problem. This is not like we were asking, like, let us do what we've been doing. Let us do the things that actually has worked over time. Let us just, let us fix it and handle it the way we know how to handle it, and then you'll be all right. I saw last night Robert Perkins and Goddess Ayana were talking a little bit about child support. And in the comment section, I think Cynthia G was talking about, like, women, a black woman's net worth being $5, which was a proven thing. And I talked about that maybe a year, 2 years ago. And that I had to make a comment that, their net worth is $5, but that's because of their bad spending habits. As far as the protection and provision part, black women get a lot of money spent on them. You get your own money spent on you. You get government benefits, not just like housing and all that, but you get the breaks of college grants and student loans and stuff like that. And then you also get and you still halfway get the benefits of chivalry, and you get child support, and you get your salary. So as far as what you take home a lot of money on the books and off the books, but what you do is you're frivolous spenders. So, it's looked at, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's looked at as if you have the money in a capitalistic society to build all these things you say you want and to build your independence, but you're just not doing it. So from a male perspective, it's like, well, you don't need us for provision because you needed our money. You've got more than enough money. You didn't need our protection, right? Because you can do your thing, because you can use money to pay for your protection. Okay, well, you got money, so you need to pay for your protection. You didn't need our validation because you got money to buy your own stuff and put up your own narrative. Thus, the social media. So you putting out the image of yourself, right? So, okay. Anyway, you put out the narrative of yourself. So guess what? The view of your of how you want to be viewed, you're putting out the narrative. So when you seeing how ladies want to be seen, and how they want to be validated, that's what guys are gravitating to. Using it in a negative sense, look at all the thirst traps. We're not telling you to make these thirst traps, you're making it. You know what I'm saying? We're not telling you to get butt naked and half naked and be overly sexual suggestive. You're doing that. We're not telling you to turn and show your butts at most of your camera poses, or your curves at most of your camera poses. We're not telling you that. See, even the most educated women are showing themselves to be sexualized people, or overly sexualized people. So, and which gets away from their I provide or protect. I'm still trying to gain the attention of a guy to come and snatch me up and impregnate me in a raw sense. So, I mean, these are byproducts of empowerment, of feminine. These are byproducts of feminine empowerment, and you can't. And unfortunately, for you guys, this is your fight. This is your fight that some of you go along with, that some of your foremothers created, and some of you keep going on and off and vacillating back and forth with doing it. So the reason why you're not getting the type of men you want is because the foundation is set that this is not our responsibility. So that's the byproduct of it. If you want an independence, you have to get treated in an independent fashion. You have to show and prove. It's not a man's responsibility to show and prove your independence. So, and in that process, you're going to take some L's because some of the things that you were used to and accustomed to, and some of the things that you feel like was female culture that was dependent on men, those things go away. So we out. Peace.